The blood-red moon hung heavy over the village like a warning no one could read. Drums pounded through the night air as the wedding feast blazed with dancing flames and laughter. Women sang, children ran between the huts, and elders nodded with approval. The new bride sat wrapped in red cloth embroidered with gold thread, her face painted with white clay. She smiled, but her hands trembled in her lap. Then the torches flickered. All of them, at once. The drumming stopped. The singing died. A cold wind swept through the courtyard even though the night had been still. The bride's smile froze on her face. Her bowl of yams slipped from her fingers and shattered on the ground. Everyone turned toward the gate. A figure in white stepped through. Silent, barefoot, dust on her feet. The villagers gasped. Some backed away. Others covered their mouths. The bride's breath caught in her throat. She knew that face. She knew those eyes. It was her sister. The one she had buried 3 months ago. The spirit lifted her head, and her lips moved softly. She spoke the bride's name. If you're watching this video, please subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my Fuckdol story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. Let me take you back to where it all began. Back to when the two sisters were still alive, still laughing, still whole. They grew up in the same small hut with walls made of red clay and a roof woven from palm leaves. Their mother had died when they were young, so they only had each other. The older sister was gentle and humble. She woke early to fetch water, helped the elders carry firewood, and never spoke ill of anyone. Her beauty was quiet, the kind that grew on you slowly like the first light of dawn. The younger sister was different. She was stunning. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, her eyes were sharp and bright, and when she walked through the village, heads turned. Everyone admired her. Everyone wanted her attention. But inside, something restless stirred. She compared herself to others constantly. She wanted more. Both sisters fell in love with the same young man. His name was Chukwa. He was kind, hardworking, and respectful. He made the older sister laugh. He helped her carry her basket. He asked her questions and listened to her answers. And when he finally chose her, the younger sister's smile cracked like dry earth. Inside her chest, a dark seed took root. The younger sister could not sleep anymore. Every night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment Chukwa chose her sister over her. She asked herself the same question over and over. Why her and not me? She watched them from a distance during the day. She saw how they laughed together while harvesting cassava. She saw how he looked at her sister with soft eyes. It burned. The envy grew like a weed, choking everything good inside her. She stopped eating much. Her friends noticed she had become distant. Her aunt asked if she was unwell, but she just smiled and said she was fine. But she was not fine. She began to convince herself that her sister did not deserve him, that she was too plain, too simple, too boring. That Chukwa had made a mistake. That fate had been twisted somehow, and it was her duty to fix it. One evening, she overheard the elders talking near the village square. "The wedding will be announced in 3 days," one of them said. Her heart dropped into her stomach. 3 days. That was all the time she had left. She clenched her fists and made a decision. The next morning, before the sun rose, the younger sister wrapped herself in a dark cloth and left the village. She walked into the sacred forbidden forest, the place where children were warned never to go. The trees there were ancient and twisted, their branches reaching out like bony fingers. The air smelled of damp earth and something else, something old. She did not know exactly where she was going, but her feet moved as if pulled by an invisible thread. Then she saw her. An old woman sat on a rock, grinding herbs in a wooden bowl. Her back was bent, her hair white as smoke, her eyes clouded but somehow seeing everything. The younger sister stopped. The old woman smiled without looking up. "I know why you have come," the witch said softly. The younger sister's throat tightened. "I need help." The witch reached into a pouch at her side and pulled out a small dried gourd, no bigger than a fist. She held it out. "This will remove whatever blocks your destiny," the witch said, "but the price is your peace." The younger sister stared at the gourd. She did not ask what that meant. She just reached out and took it. It was the night before the wedding. The village was full of music and joy. Relatives had traveled from far away, bringing gifts of cloth, yams, and palm wine. The older sister was glowing with happiness. She cooked a meal for her younger sister, just the two of them, like they used to do when they were children. "I want us to eat together tonight," the older sister said with a warm smile. "Before everything changes." The younger sister nodded. Her hands were shaking as she helped set the bowls on the mat. When her sister turned to get water, the younger sister pulled the small gourd from inside her wrapper. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it would give her away. She unstoppered the gourd and poured the dark powder into her sister's bowl of soup. She stirred it quickly. Her sister returned, smiling, and sat down. They ate together in silence. The older sister finished her meal, laughed softly, and said she felt tired. She lay down on the mat. By morning, she was cold. The younger sister buried the gourd behind the hut in the soft dirt. She whispered into the darkness, "Now he will be mine." The village wept like the sky had fallen. The older sister's body was wrapped in white cloth and carried to the riverside for the final rites. Women wailed. Children clung to their mothers. Chukwa stood by the water, his face hollow and blank, like his soul had left with hers. The younger sister stood among the mourners, her head bowed, her eyes dry. Inside, she felt a twisted sense of victory. She had won. Chukwa was free now. Soon he would need comfort. Soon he would turn to her. But Chukwa's mother, an old woman with sharp eyes, leaned close to her son as they watched the body float down the river. "When a good soul dies suddenly," she whispered, "the spirits take note." Chukwa did not respond. He just stared at the water. But the younger sister heard. And for the first time since she took the gourd, a cold shiver ran down her spine. Still, she pushed the feeling away. She told herself it was done. There was no going back now. The river carried the body away, and the village returned home in silence. Weeks passed. Chukwa stopped speaking to people. He sat alone outside his hut, staring at nothing. He did not farm. He did not eat much. His mother worried he would waste away. That is when the younger sister began her plan. She brought him food every evening. She washed his clothes without being asked. She sat with his mother and helped her grind pepper and peel yams. She spoke softly and smiled gently, playing the role of the caring, devoted woman. The villagers began a talk. "She is so kind to him," one woman said at the market. "She loved her sister so much. Now she cares for the man left behind," another added. "Maybe this is fate," an elder said thoughtfully. "Maybe she was meant to be his wife all along." Chukwa's mother heard the whispers. She saw how the younger sister hovered around her son. One evening, she suggested it to him quietly. "Perhaps it is time to move forward," she said. "She is good to you. She loved her sister. It would honor your late wife's memory." Chukwu did not answer right away. But eventually, he nodded. The elders proposed marriage, and he reluctantly agreed. As the wedding preparations began, strange things started to happen. The younger sister tried to ignore them at first, but they became harder to dismiss. One afternoon, she was fetching water when the calabash in her hands suddenly cracked down the middle for no reason. Water spilled everywhere. A few days later, a goat that had always been calm began screaming whenever she walked past. It kicked and bucked, eyes wild with fear. Then a small child, no older than 5, tugged her wrapper and said, "Auntie, why does someone always follow you?" The younger sister's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" The child pointed behind her. "There, the woman in white." But when the younger sister turned, there was no one there. At night, she heard soft footsteps outside her hut. She would sit up, heart racing, but when she looked, the courtyard was empty. One morning, she woke and went to her small clay mirror. There were fingerprints on it. Small, delicate, not hers. She tried to wipe them away, but they would not disappear. One dawn, as the first light touched the village, the younger sister woke to a shadow at her window. It was the witch. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a deep knowing. "You thought it was over," the witch said softly. "But the one you removed is not gone. The river rejected her spirit. She wanders now, seeking what was stolen." The younger sister's throat tightened. "What do I do?" The witch tilted her head. "You must confess. Speak the truth before the village, and her spirit may find peace." "No," the younger sister whispered. "I cannot. They will kill me. They will exile me." The witch's expression did not change. "Then she will return." "There must be another way," the younger sister begged. The witch said nothing. She simply stepped back into the mist and disappeared like smoke. The younger sister sat trembling on her mat, her hands pressed against her face. She told herself the witch was lying, that spirits could not return, that everything would be fine once the wedding was over. But deep down she knew. Something was coming. The wedding day arrived. Villagers gathered from every corner, dressed in their finest wrappers and beads. The drummers sat in a circle, their talking drums beating out rhythms that made the earth hum. Dancers moved their feet in practiced patterns, and the smell of roasted yam and goat meat filled the air. The younger sister, now the bride, sat on a carved wooden stool. Her wrapper was red with gold thread, her face painted with white clay, her neck heavy with coral beads. She looked like a queen. But her hands would not stop shaking. Chukwu sat beside her, his face blank, his eyes distant. He was there in body, but his spirit seemed somewhere else. The sun began to set. And then the wind came. It was not a natural wind. It swept through the courtyard suddenly, scattering dust and making the women clutch their wrappers. The flames of the torches flickered wildly. One by one, the torches went out. The drumming stopped. The laughter died. A cold presence entered the space, heavy and undeniable. The bride's breath caught in her throat. And that is when the gate creaked open. She walked in slowly, barefoot, her white burial cloth hanging loose around her body. Dust clung to her feet as if she had walked a long, long road. Her face was calm, her eyes were sad, not angry, just heartbreakingly sad. The villagers froze, some gasped, others backed away, a few fell to their knees. The bride tried to stand, but her legs gave out. She collapsed back onto the stool, her mouth open, no words coming out. The spirit moved through the crowd like water through stones. No one dared touch her. No one dared speak. She stopped in front of Chukwu. He stared at her, his face twisted in confusion and grief. She looked at him for a long moment, then spoke softly. "I was not meant to leave this world yet." Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard it. Chukwu's lips trembled. How are you here?" The spirit did not answer him. Instead, she turned slowly toward her sister. The bride shrank back, shaking her head, tears streaming down her painted face. "No," the bride whispered. "No, please." But the spirit stepped closer and reached out her hand. The moment the spirit's fingers touched the bride's shoulder, the air itself seemed to split open. A vision appeared above them, like smoke given shape, flickering and clear. Everyone saw it. The younger sister walking into the forbidden forest, the witch handing her the gourd, the bride pouring powder into the soup, the older sister eating, smiling, trusting, the burial of the gourd behind the hut. Every detail, every moment, every sin. The villagers gasped. Some cried out in horror. Chukwu staggered backward, his face twisted in disbelief and rage. "No," he whispered. "No, this cannot be true." But it was. The bride fell to her knees, sobbing, shaking her head. "I didn't mean to. I just wanted him. I just wanted to be loved." "You poisoned her," Chukwu said, his voice breaking. "You poisoned your own sister." The elders began to murmur. The women pulled their children close. The drummers sat frozen, unable to move. The bride tried to run, but her legs buckled beneath her, and she collapsed onto the dirt. The spirit stood over her, silent and still. Justice had been revealed. The ground where the gourd had been buried began to crack. The earth split open with a low rumble, and from the hole came snakes, black and slithering, hissing as they moved toward the bride. She screamed and tried to crawl away, but her body would not obey her. The witch appeared at the edge of the courtyard, standing in the shadows, watching silently. Her face showed no emotion, no pity, no anger. Just the cold gaze of one who had seen this story play out many times before. The bride looked up at her sister's spirit, tears and snot running down her face. "Please," she begged. "Please forgive me. I was wrong. I was so wrong." The spirit looked down at her and spoke, her voice soft but final. "You did not just poison my body. You poisoned love itself, and love does not die quietly." The bride's chest heaved. Her guilt, her terror, her envy, all of it came crashing down on her at once. Her vision blurred. Her breath grew shallow. And then she collapsed completely, her body going limp on the ground. The spirit turned away from her and walked toward the river. The villagers followed at a distance, silent and trembling. The spirit moved with grace, her white cloth trailing behind her like mist. She reached the sacred river, the same one that had carried her body away months before. The water began to glow softly, silver and gold under the moonlight. She stopped at the edge and turned back one last time. Her eyes found Chukwu. "Let your heart heal," she said gently. "Let no bitterness stay. Justice is done." He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I am sorry I could not protect you." She smiled, a small, sad smile. "You loved me, that is enough." Then she stepped into the water. Her body dissolved into shimmering light, like stars falling into the river. The glow spread across the surface, bright and beautiful, and then slowly faded. The river grew calm, perfectly still, as if it had finally accepted her. The villagers stood in silence, some weeping, some praying. The spirit was gone, but her story would live forever. The witch vanished that night and was never seen again. The younger sister survived, but she was exiled from the village. Her name became a warning whispered to children, a lesson about envy, greed, and the poison of comparison. Chukwu never married again. He devoted his life to teaching the young ones about choices, about character, about the weight of jealousy. He became a wise elder, and though his heart carried sorrow, it also carried peace. The story spread from village to village, told by firelight for generations. "What you take by envy becomes a curse," the elders would say. "What is yours will come without poison." And so the tale lived on. The story you have just heard is a beautiful African tale I heard long ago. I am telling it to you to wake your mind to the danger of envy and the destruction it brings, not only to others but to your own soul. If you were the younger sister and you felt that burning jealousy in your chest, what would you have done? Would you have chosen differently? I want to know your opinion because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. God bless you, and may courage guide your hands. Thank you for staying with me until this moment.